Hello, welcome back to the NetWorker training series. In this video, we will look at how we can manage a jukebox and drive resources in NetWorker. Before jumping into the topic, and for those who are new to NetWorker, let's get familiar with a few operations that are related to devices in NetWorker. The first being labeling of volumes. Now we have already seen the labeling of volumes in our previous video, but let's try and understand what exactly this operation does. So a volume is a logical object that is created in the physical location of a device. This is true for all types of devices that networkers support. Every volume in networker has a volume name associated with it, which is assigned during the labeling process. The operation of labeling a volume is to create a header for that object that helps us identify this volume. The header of a volume is always read before a volume is mounted. Also, the operation of mounting a volume to a device is the process of physically placing a tape inside a tape drive in case of physical tape drives, and in case of AFTDs and data domain and cloud boost devices, it is a logical operation. The actual operation that are carried out during labeling a volume is on this slide. First, networker writes a label to the device with an appropriate volume name that it receives from the volume label template. It then makes an entry in the media database with this new volume name, and in case of a tape device, it prepares the tape to have the data returned to by rewinding or forwarding it to the next sector which is available for writing data. Labeling a volume that already has a label will destroy the current label and create a new label. Since the media database stores the volume name in association with the safe set that resides on the volume, even though the actual backup data still physically resides on the device, it cannot be read as the original label is now destroyed. Using this tape after the label operation, overwrite the existing data. I also thought you should be familiar with the different volume modes in Networker before getting onto the actual topic of this video. Understanding these basics will take you a long way in managing the Networker environment. So the first mode that the volume gets into after labeling is the appendable mode. The device is in appendable mode when there is space available on the device to take in more backup data. The backup data that meets the acceptance criteria to the pool which the volume belongs to can write to an appendable volume. Next, full volumes has no more space available for writing, meaning that the device has run out of space and cannot take in any more backup data. The next mode is the read-only, and the read-only volumes contain read-only save sets. So no new data can be returned to the volume. However, the save sets are still subject to retention settings, and the volume is recycled when the retention period for all the save sets on the volume expire. When the mode is read-only, the mode field appears blank and an R within brackets appears in the volume name. The next mode is recyclable. When all the save sets that reside on a volume exceed the retention period and become recyclable, the volume becomes recyclable as well. While a volume is recyclable, it can be relabeled and can be used to back up new data. As we already know by now, if the volumes are marked full, they cannot receive backups. There are situations best suited to either adding a new volume or recycling an existing volume. If volumes are marked full, you can either remove the full volume and replace them with new media if the volumes are being kept for long-term retention, or change the volume mode to recyclable if the data on the full volumes is not needed. The networker server overwrites the data with new backup but maintains the existing label. There are advantages both to recycling media and adding more media to a tape. With recycling, the same volume are used repeatedly and there is no need to add new volume to the pools. The volume can, however, wear out over time and exhibit a higher failure rate. All the operations on the NetWorker Jukebox can be done using the administrator or via the command line. I will take you through these operations during the demo. All the operations on NetWorker Jukebox can be done using the NetWorker administrator or via the command line. I will take you through these operations during the demo. So the NetWorker command used to manage the jukebox is nsrjb. Let's go ahead and take a look at the different switches available with nsrjb. So on your screen, the first command is used to display the current contents of the jukebox. The switch minus uppercase C displays both the current volumes in the jukebox and the device associated with the jukebox. This is the default command option if no switches are provided with the nsrjb command. Running the nsrjb without any switch is equivalent to this as well. In case the -J is not used, the command is going to ask you for the name of the target jukebox in case of multiple jukeboxes, and if in case there is only one jukebox, it is going to run against that particular jukebox. The next on the list is the command to run an inventory. This command uses the switch -I, which is uppercase I, and helps ensure that the mapping between the slot and the volume is correct. To load a volume into a drive, nsrjb uses the -L switch. Destination device is defined by the -F switch, and the source volume is defined by the -S for slots, or you can use the barcode name with the -uppercase T switch. To unload a volume, you can use the -U switch. You can also label a volume using the nsrjb command with the -L switch. Again, you have to indicate which volume is to be labeled by using the -uppercase S or the -uppercase T switch to indicate the slot or the volume name or the barcode respectively. Or you can also mention the volume name with the command without the -T and the -S switches. The next command with the switch -H resets the jukebox and NetWorker database representing the jukebox to a consistent state. The jukebox clears the transports and then unmounts and unloads volume from the drive slots. An actual inventory is not performed. If the jukebox senses that an inventory is out of date, it prints an appropriate machines. There are a few more operations that can be done on the JB from NetWorker, for example depositing tapes and from IO slots into the data slots, or withdraw tapes from the data slots into the IO slots. For all these additional commands, you can go ahead and check the command reference guide. The next set of operations that we are talking about are the standalone tape drive operations. So to carry out the nsrjb equivalent on a standalone tape drive, we use the command nsrmm. Here are a few operations that you can do on a standalone device using nsrmm command. If you are new to NetWorker, this command might look overwhelming, but it's all about knowing the switches. Once you start using them regularly, you will get a hang of them. Keep the command reference guide handy. On this note, I wanted you all to know that I'm working on a command reference guide for phones, which is going to make finding the NetWorker commands very easy. Stay tuned for that. Alright, so now let's go ahead and look at how these operations are done. In the previous video, we configured a jukebox. Now let's carry out some of the operations on it. Alright, so if you have already seen the earlier video regarding the jukebox configuration, we have already labeled a few tapes for that video. But for those who have not yet seen that video, let's go ahead and label a few volumes. And labeling volume to a particular pool is pretty simple. What we are going to do is we are going to select the respective tapes. Now, if you look at these volumes and the volumes above them, you will see that the volume field is empty for the tapes below the slot 7, and this is because these volumes are labeled and they have been provided an appropriate volume name, which in case of a tape drive is the barcode label itself. And since the rest of them are not labeled, they are coming up as unlabeled. So let's go ahead and label a few. So you can label multiple tapes at a time. So let me select 4 of them, right click, select label. On the screen that comes up for the labeling of tapes, there are multiple options. So first tells you or shows you the tape labels or the tapes that you have selected. If in case you want to select a particular set of slots, you can also do that here. Let's continue, or we can do that here as well. So what we can do is we can mention the slot range from 7 to 10, which is the actual selection that we had done. It is also going to ask you if the devices that to be used for the labeling should be automatically selected, or if you want to select a particular device for it. So since we have automatic selection, we'll go ahead and select the pool. I think we'll label everything to backup 1. And the last option, that is under the operation options, we have prompt to overwrite existing label checked. So how this works we'll see in a few minutes. For now, let's keep it checked and then click on OK. Do not select the allow manual recycle option because that will hold your tape from being recycled automatically. Let's wait for a few minutes for the labeling to complete. As you see, the new volume names are coming up as the labeling completes. Alright, everything is completed. Now let's see what happens if I try to label a tape which is already labeled to a pool or has a valid label. This is because the particular tape is in appendable mode, so that means that it still has capacity left on it and can take in new backups. So let's see what happens when we label this. So label, and this time I'm going to select the other pool, which is backup 2, and I am going to leave this option checked, which says prompt to overwrite existing label. When you click on OK, and it gets mounted. So now that option is all about this prompt. So since it already has a valid header or a label, NetWorker is going to ask you if you really want to relabel this volume because it is going to override the header. So we are going to say yes, because that is what we are intending to do. So let's see what happens by unchecking that particular option. Say yes again. Let's right click and say label. Let's go to backup 2. And this time I'm going to uncheck the prompt. So we are carrying out this operation on the tape which is on slot 2, and then click OK. So now NetWorker should not prompt you for confirmation if you want to label it again, and it will just label the tape as you see here. So be careful when you use this option, because if in case by mistake if you have somehow selected a valid volume for labeling, then it is not going to ask you if you want to stop the operation or not. It is just going to go ahead and label the tape. So that was about labeling a tape. So let's now see how we can delete a tape or a volume. For that you can right click. Since this is not a jukebox operation but this is a volume operation, you have to go into the volume operations and then you can select delete, which in turn is going to ask you for two options. It is going to ask you if you just want to delete the client file index entries for this particular volume, or if it is the total data of the media database. Remember, the deletion that you're doing right here is not actually the physical purging of data. This is the removal of the association of the save sets with the volume and the volume information itself from the media database as well as from the index database. So click on OK and it says OK, and that is done. So if you look at this now, it says not in media index. Let's go ahead and try a few of the similar operations using the command prompt now. Okay, So let's go ahead and look at few of the nsrjb command equivalent to what we have already done. nsrjb -l is to load a volume. We will give it a particular device name, let's say dev nst0, and then a particular slot, let's say 1. Then hit enter. Sorry. Always remember that whichever user you're using to run the command should have operate device and jukebox privilege. And that is why we have this error here. So wait for a few minutes and the command should complete successfully. So you see that the operation has begun and it has completed. So this is how you mount. Alright, let's see how to unmount a device. So you can take the same command. You can remove this destination so that it can go wherever it is available, and use the -u for unmount. So you can try the other commands a similar way. Let's try some operations on the standalone devices. Before we can do some operations on them, we need to configure one. So let's go ahead and run the inquire command on our NetWorker server and see what available devices that we have. So as you already know, I have these devices configured to the jukebox. So NST0, NST1, NST2, and NST3 are already utilized. I need to look at something else. So I have NST4, NST5, NST6, and NST7. It belongs to another jukebox, but what we're going to do, we will configure them as standalone to see how to do the configuration. Another point to note here is the type of device. This is a T10KB device. So this is the type that we have to select when we are going to configure this particular tape. So let's go ahead and configure this. So the configuring standalone is a little similar to how we did the manual configuration for the AFTD device. So all you have to do is right click, new device, and in the name you will have to mention the full path to the device that we are trying to configure. That done, we are going to select the T10KB as the media type. There is no other configuration required on this, and then just click on OK. Now if you see, we have this particular device created and its type T10KB. All right, now let's try to carry out some of the operations that we had done on the jukebox. So what the operation that we can look at using a standalone tape drive is labeling a volume, loading, unloading, and yeah, that's about it. And you can also reset a tape drive. So let's go ahead and place something inside the tape drive. So for that, we will be using the nsrjb command. Before we go ahead and run the sjim, we need to know what is where, and that is why we need the sjird tag command to run. So what we can do is, let's take something from the bottom. So element 40 to tape drive 1. So let's move we need sudo jimm btl, or the element address of jukebox. The source is slot 40 and the destination is drive 1. Let's run our sjrd can, and there you go. Oh, we have placed a cleaning tape. We cannot use a cleaning tape. Let's go ahead and move it back. I say drive 1. Oops. Back to slot 40. Then let's move something from slot 39 is good. So let's see 39, and then move it to drive 1. Let's check it again. Yeah, I think we are good to go this time. Let me clear to so that the command prompt comes to the top. And let's first try to label a volume. For that, we use nsrjb minus L minus F. We use slash dev slash nst4. Let me check. Yeah, that's the one. And then we can use the pool backup underscore one. Apparently pool name is wrong. And like we did earlier, I don't have operate device and jukebox permission, so I need to run this as sudo. So there you go. The labeling is done. So just by doing the labeling, the tape doesn't get mounted automatically. Even though the tape is physically inside the drive, we have to do the logical mount. This is the same way that we do the logical mounts on AFTDs and the data domain devices. So let's go ahead and do the mount. So we use the command nsrjb minus m. I usually use an additional v for verbosity, and then we give the device name, which is dev nst4. And if I refresh the screen, there you go. So that is our volume name. So now you could see a major difference between the volume name for a standalone device and a volume name for an device which was inside the tape library, because on the tape library the volume name matched the barcode. But remember that we do not have a barcode reader on the standalone tape drive, so that is why you will not be able to get the barcode read automatically. You can, however, create a manual label and assign that label to this. Now I will just show you how to label it from the NMC as well. That is similar to how we did the other labels. So right click, label, and this is what I was talking about, the manual labeling. So here you can go ahead and mention the label. For example, in our case, we had mounted, let's see which one, from the nsrjb tag. So this is what is mounted in here. So let me copy that and paste this. So again, this is not a mandatory practice that you have to do, but this usually helps you to keep a track of what the physical name of the barcode is and what you have in the in NetWorker database, media database. So I'll change this to 2 just to show you guys. And as you see, we have already selected mount after labeling. So after this labeling operation, it is going to mount automatically. Oh, I did not, it reset again because I changed the pool. Okay, let me label it again. Label, then name, okay. And there you have it. Thanks for sticking with me till the end of this video. I hope you found this useful. If you have any questions or comments, share it with our community in the comment section below, or you can drop me a message at my Twitter account. I will see you on another video. Goodbye.